But throughout my speech, if at any point you feel engaged or thoroughly enthralled, please don't be afraid to stand up, clap your hands, snap your fingers, raise a fist, or do whatever you so desire. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth and unconditional love will have the final word. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. There are 2 days of significance in this week. On Monday, January 16th, the celebration of the late Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. On Friday, January 20th, the official end of President Barack Obama's time in office as the President of the United States and the inauguration of the 45th President of the United States, Donald J. Trump. Now, as blissful as ignorance is, that is a leisure we cannot afford, for we live in a time of great change, of great turmoil, of great growth, because complacency is the enemy of greatness and awareness is a catalyst for action. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., born January 15, 1929, Atlanta, Georgia, was a Baptist minister by trade and an activist. For those who have a clouded definition of an activist is a person who campaigns about political or social change. An activist is a voice risen in protest to voice discontent and to combat injustice, and activism is action. Dr. King was a leader in the civil rights movement, known for his dedication to nonviolent civil disobedience. Many of you may know him solely for his I Have a Dream speech. As previously stated, ignorance is indeed a leisure that we cannot afford. Dr. King was more than his speech. The rallying call he used to voice the injustice in the world, the 50 years prior of job inequality, the lack of voting rights, and the urgent necessity for peace, as racism could no longer be accepted or condoned and considered normal. Dr. King was both a symbol and a catalyst, a beacon on the horizon, the morning light of the new day, the impetus the Black community needed to instigate social change, to fight to achieve equality. Dr. King was great because despite every insult hurled his way, every wall put in front of his face, every threat he heard day to day, he did not relent. Because of the tenacity of civil rights activists like Dr. King, we have lived for 8 years with the epitome of that dream as the leader of the free world. We have lived with one of the most eloquent and verbose members of the global community. We have lived with a Black man as the leader of one of the most powerful nations in this world. One could argue that because we live in Bermuda, the actions of these Americans hold no relevance to us. But understand that these people are more than Americans. They are members of the global community with spheres of influence so great that young men and women sitting in an assembly hall on a Thursday morning can recount their words and the impact that they have had in our lives, that they represent something to us. Understand that when I say global community and spheres of influence, no, it's not elaborate rhetoric. I'm saying that these people were people with voices so loud and purposes so proud that they could not be left unheard within this world. These people show us that just as they have a voice, we, the children, the future, each have a voice and the right to be heard. We hold an immeasurable potential for greatness. You can be the change that you want to see. You can heal the world for real. If I'm speaking honestly, we the people are greatness embodied regardless of labels, backgrounds, or predisposed notions that explicitly state your worth, your place on the world stage, or your time in the spotlight. Understand that like Dr. King, my statements aren't anti-anything but anti-hate. Dr. King said, I have decided to stick with love. Hate is too great a burden to bear. My statements are pro-empowerment. Through the celebration of self, I suppose I come across as overconfident, cocky, or strikingly Black, like coffee without cream. But understand, about 2 years ago, I spent a weekend in Florida screaming, I'm Black, I'm proud, my legacy is loud, and I said it with conviction. I believed it, and I do to this day. I carry it with me and breathe it behind everything I say. Because of it, I realized that I like my baby hair with baby hairs and afros. I like my Negro nose with Jackson 5 nostrils. I realized, word to Beyonce, I'm here to say that my voice matters, that my life matters. That each and every star in this room contributes to a constellation, connect the dots and it reads out greatness. I realize that whether you're dark as the midnight hour or bright as the morning sun, the amount of self-worth determined by complexion amounts to none. I realize that the only thing in this world that can hurt me is my lack of belief in myself. I realize that a label is nothing but an outsider's attempt to categorize, repress, and understand me. That it reflected not my character, but the character of he who put the label upon me. Because of Dr. King, not one of us can be justly bound by injustice. Because of his works, we know for a fact that equality is a necessity. That despite all your rage and your pain and justified burning desire to strike down he who holds you down, you are stronger still for enduring that pain and holding steadfast. Because a world can exist where labels are nothing but claims and the furthest thing from factual, where complexion reflects nothing but your time in the sunshine, where your voice is valued because you are you. I looked towards Dr. King and he told me the ultimate measure of a man is not where he stands in moments of comfort and convenience, but where he stands at times of challenge and controversy, and now is a challenging time. Then was an amazing task accomplished. Later is the promise that with time we shall overcome. When I was offered the opportunity to speak at this assembly, I realized that I had been presented with an opportunity to use my voice, that my mother forged with her being, that my father sculpted with his poems, that my peers actively refined, that my ancestors fought for my right to use. I realized that I had been given the opportunity to use the most valuable gift that was obtained through hardship, through blood, sweat, and tears. Do I have the chance to speak today? I realized that a voice is a weapon, a bond, a promise. I realized that a voice is a miracle. So I ask you to rise, like dust disturbed, like a dream undeferred. I ask you to use your voice for greatness. Thank you.